Political commentator Matthew Stadlen has been left fuming and told Bev and Andrew that they should be calling the riots far-right thuggery. This comes as Sir Keir Starmer raised concern about the violent thuggery that has been occurring in the UK since the Southport stabbings last week. This weekend the UK has been grappling with social unrest after protesters set fire to hotels used to shelter asylum seekers in Rotherham at just one of the chaotic protests. Speaking to GB News, Stadlen said, "I would support Labour ministers coming on GB News to make their points, make their arguments and call out the vicious violence that we've seen in recent days that has marred communities and seriously damaged great countries' reputation overseas. I was shocked by some of the analysis. You don't go and say to Muslim children in Rotherham or other parts of the country and say I'm really sorry that you're terrified. I'm really sorry that racist thugs seem to be going door to door in Middlesbrough of ethnic minority communities, throwing bricks in the windows. But there are people in this country who are fed up with mass migration. You call it out, for what it is, and what we've been witnessing in Britain in the last few days have been pogroms, and it needs to be denounced." Andrew fumed back, "Matthew, do you think you should be using more careful language? You use the word pogroms. A pogrom is an organized massacre of a particular ethnic group. Who's been massacred?" Matthew responded, "You've asked me on your show. You want people from the Labour government to come on your show, so listen to the answer before you interrupt. What we saw in Rotherham was a hotel housing asylum seekers, and we saw violent racist thugs set fire to it. Do you understand what the maximum sentence is for aggravated arson? It's a life sentence, and it should be." Bev explained, "Look, the issue is if you use a word like pogrom and you use phrases like far-right, we completely take out the power, because we need words to describe atrocities and atrocious political positions of as those phrases do. So we have to be really careful about the language we use around this issue." He said, "You should be calling what we saw in Rotherham, what we saw in Middlesbrough, what we saw in Sunderland, where we saw a man with a swastika tattooed onto his body." Bev said, "He was far right. I agree with you." He continued, "He was clearly far right. There may also be some opportunists, including children, who are jumping on the bandwagon, taking the opportunity to loot as we saw in 2011. All of that is wholly unacceptable. These riots have been organized by the far right, and they should be denounced on this channel as far right." Unrest erupted across much of England over the weekend, including in Middlesbrough and Belfast. Counter-protesters also gathered in major hotspots for confrontation, with up to 300 masked people shouting Allahu Akbar in Bolton.